So guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can make running easier. And when I tell you how to make running easier, I guarantee you it's one of these things that you're going to be like, yeah, we already knew that. But what's different is that I'm also going to be telling you how you can run faster and when you should be using these techniques to help make running easier, because it's not all the time. Okay, that's it. Let's get into it. So I did come across an article in Marathon Handbook, and that article is titled, "Take Your Mind Off of the Run, How Dissociation Can Improve Your Running Performance." And there is a study that I'll be talking about the results from during this video, and I will place a link to both the Marathon Handbook article and the study in the show notes below. So if you're interested in just reading it for yourself, go ahead and check out those links. So let's get right to it. In a nutshell, if you think about other things when you're running, it is likely going to make your run feel a little easier. And I'm not joking, this is going to come as a surprise to no one. And it's an important tool to know how to use, because there are going to be times that when you're running, your mind is going to be telling you, oh, I need to stop, oh, I'm tired, you know, just whining at you. And if you can learn to turn that section of your mind off or tune out, you're going to be able to run a little further, right? I'm sure a couple of you can relate that sometimes it's best not to think about the discomfort that we're going through when we're running. And we do that by dissociating. And very basically, dissociating is when you are trying to distance your mind from the activity that your body is doing. Now, there's a lot of times that we'll be dissociating and we won't even realize that we're doing it. Imagine the runner that never goes out on a run without having music, right? They need that music because it helps push them through the run. They think it motivates them. And while, yes, it may motivate them to keep going, what it's really doing is taking their attention away from the run. They're listening to the music rather than thinking about the effort that's going into the run. And there are actually two types of disassociating techniques that runners can use. First one is called dissociative external attention, and that is the listening to the music. That is talking to a friend. That is looking at the scenery around you as you're running by. Next, we've got dissociative internal attention. And this is about where our mind is just drifting and we're thinking about other things. So perhaps you are solving a puzzle, repeating a mantra, counting to yourself, thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, or breakfast, depending on when you go for a run. Now, in contrast to dissociation is association. And as I love to state the obvious, associating is when you are focusing on the stuff that your body is doing. So you're actually thinking about your body running. Now, there are two types of association that we do. We have association internal, which is when we're actually focusing on the movement of our body. So think our cadence, think about how our foot is hitting the ground, think about how we're holding our arms, like we're actually thinking about stuff going on with our body. Then we've got association external, and that's when we're focusing on external markers relative to the run. So think about your GPS watch, your pace, your heart rate, that kind of thing. We're tuning into our bodies on the run, but we're tuning into external readings of our run. Oh, pretty basic, right? Now get this, because this is something that you're going to want to take away and maybe use it to use within your own running. But a recent study measured the impact of association and dissociation on running economy and rates of perceived exertion, right? And even if we don't think about running economy or rates of perceived exertion, like we know that this is stuff that is going to benefit us, right? We want to be more efficient and we want our rate of perceived exertion to be lower. Well, guess what? This study used non-professional runners and it found that dissociating made runners more efficient and lowered their rates of perceived exertion. Now, right now, and I know what you're thinking, because if you are listening to music when you're out on a run or you enjoy just letting your mind drift, you know that that's true. You know that when you are thinking about something else or when you're listening to music, your rate of perceived exertion is lower because you're not thinking about it. Oh, but those aren't the only benefits. It was also found that the dissociating athletes consumed less oxygen, had lower amounts of blood lactate, and had the lower RPE. So the study clearly shows that when running at a sub-maximal pace, so not race effort, we're talking about going out and just running easy, your body's going to perform physiologically better when you dissociate from the task at hand. Now, I just want to remind you that we are talking about easy runs. We're not talking about race day, but we'll get there. Now, let's just back it up to running economy, because it may sound funny that your running economy is going to improve when you are dissociating from actually running, right? You might think that, oh, I need to change my gait. I need to change my foot strike. I need to increase my cadence. And you start thinking about all these things rather than just let your body's automatic process take care of it. And the study also found that when the athletes actually focused on their running economy, so their gait, their foot strike, and all that nonsense that we're told to focus on, their running economy actually went down. It was only when they switched off, when they were listening to music or watching a video or just drifting away from the run itself, that their running economy improved because they were letting their body do what it does naturally. Isn't that fascinating? So basically, the study found that when we think about our motor processes, it actually interrupts those motor processes and makes us less efficient. That is not an intuitive finding, is it? Okay, so now we have talked about the benefits of dissociating when we're out on an easy run. Let's talk about running faster. Let's talk about racing, because studies have found that athletes run faster when they associate. So when you are thinking thinking about your body and the processes and what it's doing, you are going to run faster. And on average, the athletes that thought about themselves, so associated during a 5K run, ran 1 minute faster than when they were dissociating. So if you have a 5K coming up and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm just going to listen to music and go out and charge it, yeah, that's fine. But you're probably leaving time on the table because you are still going to go out there and charge it. But if you tune into your body when you're running that 5K, science says that you're going to run a bit quicker. Oh, my friends, let me ask a quick favor. If you are not already subscribed to this channel, we should go ahead and do that right now. I put out several videos a week, and I know that most of you that are watching are not subscribed. And it would just be a huge win for me if you just click that subscribe button. So thank you. Okay, so there are some other situations when dissociating and associating are going to be the right path to take. So if you are a new runner and you're just getting started out, I think in this case it may be natural for you to want to run with music. Like, just sounds like a more fun time to go out and listen to music when you're a new runner, you know, before you've actually got bitten by the running bug. But when you're a new runner and you're going out, it's probably best that you stick to associating. And that is because it's important to listen to your body rhythms when you're running and actually learn how to run. Like, you have to teach your body how to work before it will work automatically. And when it starts to work automatically, that's when you can start dissociating and just let it go on autopilot, at least for those easy runs. Second, dissociation can definitely help with enjoying your run. In fact, there was another study that showed that runners enjoy themselves a lot more when they dissociate on a run than when they are thinking about their body, which is understandable, right? Gotta be honest, on most of my runs, when I'm going out and going for a run, I don't need to just be constantly thinking about, oh, I'm tired, oh, my legs hurt, oh, is my heart rate a little high? It just brings me down on my normal runs, and I don't need that. So if you are looking to enjoy a run, maybe put on some music and just drift away and enjoy it. This is going to be especially true during long runs. And for me personally, long runs are the only time that I'm going to go out and I'm actually going to run with a pair of headphones, and I usually listen to an audiobook because I find that going for a long run, so think anything over 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, it's a little bit daunting. It can bring a little bit of anxiety. And I find that if I just think about being on my feet for a couple hours, that is not as daunting as going out for a long run. So I just think to myself, yeah, you just have to be on your feet for a couple hours. You can listen to an audiobook, and then when you come home, you can eat breakfast. It's a good way to just twist my mind into the place where I need it to be in order to get the work done. Now, let's talk about race day, because there have been studies that shown that athletes, when they are trying to run at a self-determined pace, which, you know, that's what happens when we race. We usually have a goal in mind, and that goal is attributed to a certain pace. So when we're trying to run at that self-determined pace, studies have shown that we are going to push ourselves harder when we are associating. So when we're thinking about our body and the run and how difficult it is and how we can push through, you know, we're going to run faster when we do that rather than thinking about what we're going to have for dinner after the race. And again, I think this is intuitive. Let me know if it's not, but it makes sense to me. Now, there's a little difference when we start extending the race out. So I've talked about running a 5K and how runners who associate will run a minute quicker than runners who dissociate, at least in that study. But you can't just extrapolate that out to the marathon. So as the race distance increases, so does the amount of effect that dissociating has on our run. And I don't know how many of you have run a marathon, but I have found that in a marathon, you know, I've run enough to know that some go very well and some go very bad. You know, obviously there are going to be some like right in the middle. But sometimes I will go to a marathon and I'll have a pace plan in place. I'll want to stick to that, and I stick to it for, you know, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Then things start getting a little difficult. That's when you start negotiating with yourself and you'll think, oh, I know my goal is this, but my B goal is this, and I'll be happy if I get a B goal. Then things start getting more difficult and you start negotiating down to your C goal. And these are the times when dissociating can really pay off, because at this point, you know, you're deep in the pain cave and you just want to remove yourself from that situation. So then by maybe listening to music or thinking about what you're going to have for dinner or lunch or breakfast after the race, that can really come in handy and pay dividends. You may have noticed it during a race, like when you're running and things are feeling pretty tough, and then you go through a music station. So there's a band set up on the corner and they're just blasting music, and all of a sudden you get some energy and you're like, yeah, I can do this. And then you start feeling good and you kind of pick up the pace just a little bit. Your mind is right and you are just filled with confidence that you're going to finish the race at this pace that you want to. Then a couple of seconds later, you get past the band, you just drifts away and you're surrounded by silence, and the silence is also filled with your own thoughts of how much this is hurting and how this is not as fun as you remember it being. These are the times when dissociation may pay off. Now, Paula Radcliffe actually uses dissociating techniques when she's running, and obviously she is a total rock star in the running world, so when she says something, you know, we should probably listen. And her dissociating technique is to count to 100 3 times in her head, and she says that each count signifies that another mile has passed. Now obviously if I'm going to count to 100 3 times in my head, probably going to be counting a little slower than Paula Radcliffe if I want to cover a whole mile in that time. But the point is that by counting, you're still focusing on the moment, but not thinking about the race itself. Now, there was another story about a group of Tibetan monks that allegedly ran 300 miles in 30 hours. And they did this by focusing their attention on distant objects and repeating the word down every time their foot went down. So I'm assuming it was in their mind. They were just saying down, 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 down. And guess what? There was a study that actually did this with their participants, and they found that there was an increase in endurance when you use the down, down, down technique. What do you think about that? Is that something that you will try on the run? Okay, so just quickly, we're going to talk about 10 dissociating techniques that you can use. And the first one is listening to music. And music includes everything, podcasts or an audiobook. The second dissociating technique is talking to a friend. We all know that friends just make the miles go by a lot quicker. If you've seen any of my daily vlogs that I put out on my running, you know that when I'm running with other people, I always say that the time just flew by because I've been running with them. Number 3 is focus on the landscape around you. This is going to be easier sometimes than others, depending on where you're running. But either way, there is going to be a landscape around you wherever you're running, and sometimes it can help to focus on that. Number 4 is focus on another runner. So this is going to happen when you're in a race and you're going to see someone in front of you, and it can really take your mind off of the run to just keep an eye on that runner in front of you. And for the same reason, you're just distancing yourself from the run itself and looking at something. The 5th way of dissociating is to people watch. This is going to be especially handy if you're running in a city because there are lots of people around, but people watching is fun wherever you do it. So when you're on the run, it's a good way to take your mind off the run itself. Number 6 is to repeat a mantra. In other videos, we've talked about mantras, and it can be a word, it can be a phrase, whatever means something to you. Number 7, repeat a short section of a song. Is there a particular song that you like? Well, sing that in your head over and over again. Probably be sick of it by the end of your run, but at least you won't be thinking about the run. Number 8, play mind games. And this could be anything. Can you name every single country? How many colors can you see around you? Can you spot something on the horizon that begins with each letter of the alphabet? Next up is motivational self-talk. Just tell yourself what a rock star you are. You're doing this. You're doing this running thing. Encourage yourself. And number 10, well, get creative. I think I've mentioned 100 times in this video already, thinking about what you're going to make for dinner after your run. So yeah, you can do that. Start planning out your meals for the week. Think about a holiday you've got coming up. Think about winning the lottery. I don't know. Whatever it is. The idea is to not think about your run until it comes to race day. Then you have to think about your run. So guys, now I want to hear from you. Do you prefer to dissociate or associate on your run? And of course, you can really dig in and let me know if there's certain runs that you like to dissociate. Do you like to associate? Maybe you like to listen to music during race day, but not on your training runs. I don't know, talk to me. And if you have made it till this point in the video, I want you to put that like invisible face. It's like an emoji face, but it's dots around it. I don't know, an invisible face, the ghost face, I don't know. But that's what I want you to drop in the comments to let me know that you made it to this point in the video. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been a video on the benefits of dissociating when we run. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.